Here is a gameplay of our game Puzzle Swap. This is the title screen. This is the instructions page with the rules of the game. This is the very first puzzle, which is set on easy difficulty. Since the player went over the par moves allowed in that round, he will lose a life. This is the second puzzle, which is set on medium difficulty. This is the very last puzzle, which is set on hard difficulty. And this is the end screen where the UI is prompting the user for their username so it can be displayed on the leaderboard functionality.
Hello, this is our presentation for the FBLA event, Computer Game and Simulation Programming. The name of our game is Puzzle Swap and is created by John Nasr, Harsh Dave, and Shreyan Satheesh. Software explained. We chose to use Scratch as we found it to be the most effective way to go about designing a smooth and seamless game. We used the Scratch Sandbox website provided by MIT to create the project. Scratch is very user-friendly and graphically based, which makes it very easy to import pictures and other elements into our code. As we began our planning process, we first experimented with other programs such as Java and Python. However, upon further brainstorming, we found that Scratch was the most user-friendly due to the fact that it was good with graphics.
Planning process. For planning and designing our game, we used several online tools such as Lucid Charts, Google Docs, and Google Slides. We also used Google Drawings to help split up our pictures and create the puzzle pieces that are used in our game. We also familiarized ourselves to the program we were going to use, Scratch, by watching videos on the basics of the language itself. Here is an example of a flowchart we made that describes the major components of our game. In the start, we have the title screen, which displays the name of the game and the start button. Then we have the instruction screen, which shows the rules of the game. Thirdly, we have the different puzzle screen, all having the moves played, the par moves allowed for the puzzle, and the lives the player has left. These are all displayed on the top of the screen. There's also a next button there at the very bottom right of the screen, which can help the player navigate from puzzle 1 to puzzle 2 to puzzle 3. Finally, we have the end screen, which implements the user interface to prompt the user for their username so it can be displayed on the leaderboards of the game. Process of the game. The player is given multiple puzzle pieces making various images relating to FBLA. Their job is to move these puzzle pieces together to form a cohesive picture that represents the various logos of FBLA. Once the player is done with the first logo, they can press next to move on to the next logo. The difficulty for the puzzles is sequential, going from easy to medium to hard. Once the player has finished all three of these puzzles, their score will be counted and displayed on the leaderboards. Traversing through the game flow. After the player is finished with the puzzle, they can advance to the next stage by clicking the next buttons on the very bottom right of the screen. Whenever the player clicks these next button, these things will happen. The background is changed to the next screen/level and displays the new scrambled FBLA logo. The score for the previous round is calculated, and the lives are reduced if the player's move exceeded the par moves allowed for the round.
Some examples of the user interface we used were dragging a mouse/touchpad for the movement of the puzzle pieces. Also, the player inputs their name at the end of the game so that they can be added onto the leaderboards. We were considering using the WASD keys on the keyboard instead of using the dragging feature through a mouse to move the puzzle pieces. Ultimately, we realized that dragging was a more user-friendly and a more compatible piece to use for our program than using the WASD keys. Endgame. If the player goes above the minimum moves allowed per puzzle piece, they lose a life. The player has a total of 3 lives, which are each worth 5 points. Score is calculated after each round by subtracting the par number of moves with the number of moves that the player played. The final score will then be determined by adding all 3 of these individual round scores together and adding 5 points per life the player has left. For the end result of the game, the program uses user input from Scratch program to ask for the player's name and then display a leaderboard with all the players who have played the game before and based on their score. We also have a ranking system in place based on the player's score. Below 0 points is rookie, 0 to 15 is veteran, 16 to 30 is pro, and above 30 you're at a master level. We have implemented some code for which our program runs. This is just the scoring mechanism. As you can see, we are changing the score after every round by subtracting the par moves from the moves, and if moves exceed the par moves, then we are changing lives by -1, therefore losing a life. As you can see, these are the leaderboards, and these introduce a multiplayer aspect to our game, which is a unique feature that not many other games have. Thank you for playing Puzzle Swap.